Fiancée forced all of her acquaintances to block me on social media and claimed both of her parents had died months before our wedding. When I visited her hometown, I realized that her mother was okay. So my fiancée, GF, age 32, does not want me, age 28, to speak with her best friends before marriage. We've been dating for 2.5 years, and it's mostly been public. Public in the sense that she and I enjoy uploading photographs or videos of ourselves from our travels or together, and we made it clear on Instagram that we were in a relationship. However, she has few real-world Instagram followers, either at work or in her personal life. She has roughly 7 to 8 pretty excellent. She has regular get-togethers with her pals and one cousin. We are both grown adults who have decided to marry in November or December of 2024, when we first began dating. So I figured it would be better to introduce her to my family last month. So I got her permission and decided to meet with my family in a good restaurant in the city. My family got to know her, liked her, and decided on a date for our wedding. But my girlfriend said it would be too early for her to marry this year, so we agreed to schedule the wedding for February 2025, 6 months from now. In my city, it is traditional to book wedding halls ahead of time to ensure a suitable setting. So I got her approval, talked it over with my family, and reserved a wedding hall. A few days later, she booked a place for her half of the celebration. In our culture, it is common to provide celebrations for both the bride and groom's families. So far, I've made her meet my family and a female friend of mine who lives in a different town with her boyfriend, and both meetings were carefully scheduled. She may perhaps have met another friend of mine by accident in the mall. However, I have never met her friends in that manner. Simply once or twice did I happen to meet some friends when driving my fiancée somewhere. 2 or 3 of her friends joined us, and we simply talked a few words while driving. However, her acquaintances were aware that we were dating. Now, a strange incident occurred last week that baffled me. She got a text from an Instagram friend. Prior to this, I had only. She communicated with her acquaintance once, about a year ago. When my girlfriend wasn't talking to me after we had an argument, I contacted her friend and respectfully requested her to talk to my girlfriend once. Because she is a wonderful friend, she answered, "Okay, I will definitely talk." Also, I texted her buddy because I believed my girlfriend at the time was going through a lot of difficulties and would benefit from having a friend to talk them through properly, as she had a large financial loan and had a conflict with me and her family. Shortly later, I received a call from my girlfriend over my DMing her friend on Instagram, and she asked that I will never communicate with her again. I was surprised, but I obliged because our relationship was not stable at the time, and I gave her room to settle. And later that day, I received a message from her pal saying, "I'm sorry I can't help you with this," and she blocked me on Instagram. I was fine, and did not reply, therefore this was last year's episode. Now, this same friend texted me suddenly last week because she couldn't reach my partner on the phone and was worried about what was happening. I politely responded, saying, "Hey, she's fine, probably busy with office work. I'll notify my girlfriend that you're trying to contact her." I phoned my girlfriend and told her that her friend had called, to which she replied, "Oh Lord, why does she have to text you? Please remove her from Instagram." It seemed uncomfortable to block a friend, while simultaneously being immature. So I told her I wouldn't, and my girlfriend stated that if I wanted, her friend would. A few seconds later, I realized I had been banned on Instagram again by her friend. Actually, this time it irritated me, so I texted her under her other Instagram name and told her, "Hey, how are you doing? I didn't like what you just did, and this is not a very respectable way to communicate with someone." I also stated that if your spouse has any self-respect, he should not text my girlfriend while you're having problems. Then she added, "Hey, my husband, me, and her were in her life long before you came along." After that, I gently explained that I did not plan to harm their relationship and just wanted to build it, and that I felt offended for being blocked twice while I only wanted to talk to them once or meet them. So she did not answer and contacted my girlfriend, who became outraged and upset with me since I mentioned her friend's hubby. I thought that was the only reasonable way to explain myself. I was serious about her, so I introduced her to my family and friends. She had no family, her parents had deceased, and her relatives were in different countries or far away. However, her friends would be the ones to attend our wedding on her behalf. So I expected her to take me seriously, and not ask her friends to block me, at least on Instagram. She routinely visits this female friend's house, and they sometimes have sleepovers, and even parties with this friend and her husband in their home for birthdays, parties, or other purposes. I never got the opportunity to go out and meet any of her acquaintances in an official capacity. I stated to her several times that your acquaintance occasionally brings her husband and baby to group sessions. So maybe I can go along and meet them once? However, she is vehemently opposed, and the present blocking occurrence has me very apprehensive. My fiancé believes that my ex-boyfriends have previously caused difficulty for my friends, and I do not want this to happen again. But this made sense until about a year ago, but now that we're getting married in 6 months, She's apprehensive and says she won't introduce me to them until after the ceremony. Furthermore, when she marries, these friends will most likely have to help her fulfill her half of the bargain by lowering her responsibilities because she has no one else. So I needed to speak with them about our upcoming wedding preparations. I haven't spoken to my girlfriend in 2 days because of this, and she is also afraid about the marriage now that I've indicated a want to meet her friends, claiming that I would be controlling in the future. I believe she'll text or call me back soon. Am I asking the right thing by asking her to introduce me to her friends? What will I do? Update 1: a few days ago, I 28M posted about my girlfriend 32F requesting one of her best friends to block me on Instagram. It hasn't been long since the blocking incident, but I was surprised to learn today that my girlfriend's mother, whom she has always referred to as deceased, is not really dead. So, a few weeks ago, the girl's best friend, who was already married with one child, texted me to ask where my girlfriend was since she couldn't reach her. When my girlfriend found out, she immediately demanded that I block her, which I declined nonetheless. She then pushed that best friend to block me, and the rest of the story is already in the previous piece. Since then, I've been unable to trust her. My girlfriend has always said that there is no one in her family. She said that she was a single child whose parents had died. She used to visit her aunt in the countryside every 3 to 4 months, claiming she was the only one who lived there, but everything seemed peculiar, and every time she traveled, she would stay for at least 2 to 3 days. Other things seemed incorrect, such as when she received a phone call with her contact name displayed as Dad Home and a person on the other line speaking, whom she always referred to as her aunt. My girlfriend has already met my parents, and we intend to marry in February. My parents were concerned about our marriage since they didn't like the secrecy and the fact that my fiancée asked her best friend to block me. I simply believed it was due to generational differences and attempted to persuade my parents that it wasn't such a big problem. My parents didn't like this arrangement, so one day last week, they went to my girlfriend's workplace and asked a coworker if she knew anything about her parents. But that coworker knew very little about her family. I know my parents did not do the right thing, but they were most likely able to notice the unusual things from an outsider's perspective and were merely concerned for my safety. Later, I sought to persuade them that such behavior in the workplace is wrong. They vowed not to ask again, but they also recommended me to undertake comprehensive study first, committing to marriage. So I tried to think about my parents' point of view as well as the situation from an outsider's perspective, which was making me upset. My fiancée refused to allow me connect with any of her friends or family, or follow them on social media. And her excuse for not showing her family was that her family would never approve of her marriage since intercaste or intercommunity marriages are still not generally acknowledged in some parts of India. But she was constantly boasting about her parents' open-mindedness and how modern her upbringing was, and she used to insult my family, being suspicious and backwards. She also used to say that if her parents were alive today, they would have surely attended the wedding. My parents loved my girlfriend immediately when they met her for the first time, and were quite thrilled about the marriage. My father even offered to cover the wedding expenses for her side because she was struggling financially. However, they grew suspicious when she had her best friend block me. All of this raised my suspicions, so I decided to pay a visit to her distant hamlet home today, just to be sure. I went there claiming to be looking for someone else, and when I knocked on the door, her mother emerged. I knew it was her mother since my girlfriend had shown me pictures of her mother earlier. It was truly like encountering a ghost. She seemed to be a healthy and attractive woman, smiling and gazing, just like my girlfriend. My girlfriend and I haven't been speaking well since the day my parents visited her office. She called my parents weird and everything for doing such a thing, and she was unhappy, claiming that people in my town are bright, cunning, and crazy, and that they spy on people, but she never realized she was telling such a big lie to our family. And I admitted to her that asking in her office was improper. However, it is unacceptable for her to speak so poorly about my family while acting suspiciously, asking friends and relatives to block me, and faking her mother's death. I haven't discussed this with my girlfriend, and I'd want to know what to make of it. This was a massive lie, and I don't see any plausible explanation for it. Residents nearby informed me that her father had died, and her mother was still alive. She was there with her aunt, who lived in another house just down the street. I just want to know if there is any solid logic or judgment that can be applied to this situation, since I cannot think of any. Her mother looked to be in good health, approximately 50 to 60 years old. Update 2: It's been roughly a month since I expressed my worry about my fiancé's unusual behavior and lying about her mother's death. Today I thought I'd provide a little update on the situation because many of you have requested it. I was taken aback for several days after discovering that her mother was still alive. But I eventually felt better, though I was still curious about if I had done anything wrong, especially because I had witnessed both her positive and negative aspects. Now that some time has passed and I can think more clearly, while still mourning her, I dwell on as her departed father was. None of the justifications she presented seemed serious enough for me to believe. I pointed out that 90% of her reasons were related to her ex-boyfriend, and I questioned her why she needed to lie about her mother, especially when I had always supported her family issues. I told her that her explanations made no sense to me at all. She then informed me I was incorrect in thinking she had narcissistic personality disorder. I told her this before since she never apologizes and uses gaslighting to hide her own faults, and I read online that these might be signs of NPD and recommended her to get professional help. She indicated that she had consulted a psychologist who diagnosed her with CPTSD, which can occasionally lead to narcissistic behavior. Nonetheless, I don't understand how it justifies inventing such. She spun a complex story about her mother to fool both me and my parents, including offering a specific date for her mother's death anniversary. She was also unhappy with my parents since they found the whole affair strange and began asking questions. Although I feel terrible for her, and believe she may be struggling with some behavioral issues, I also believe there is a deeper, more convoluted secret, whether hers or her family's, that has resulted in all of these stories. In my final conversation with her, I made it clear that, regardless of what she said, we are not in a position to preserve the marriage. I don't want to hurt her by challenging her, nor do I want to injure myself. Trust is something that cannot be regained after what has happened, therefore I asked her to just tell me the truth. However, she didn't say anything relevant to me. Contemplate. Next, I spent everything I had on her engagement ring, but she thought it was too little and not distinctive enough. Months later, I learned she was having an affair with a coworker. Before I proposed, I spent a lot of time online and in stores looking for the best ring I could afford, which ended out to be a 1-carat diamond solitaire. My girlfriend, 29F, he dislikes the ring and wants a different one. All of the ones she showed me were larger and more expensive than I could afford. She said she'd accept my proposal if I offered her a new ring and a second chance since she was disappointed that I proposed at home and didn't do anything special. To be honest, I'm a little disappointed that she's so focused on acquiring a larger and more expensive ring. I want her to be happy and have a ring she likes, but she seems fixated with how little my last one was, and I don't feel good. Think about it. My heart was devastated when she answered no. As I said in my first criticism about the ring, the diamond is too small. I recreated the meal she made for me on our second date and proposed on our balcony, surrounded by candles and her favorite scent. I hope this answers your questions. Update 1: I told my girlfriend that if she preferred a different style of ring than the one I purchased her, I could get her a new one because I obviously want her to enjoy a ring she will wear every day. I'd either keep the original ring as my engagement ring because she's made it clear she won't buy me one herself. Alternatively, I might return it and put the money towards her new ring. The ring I bought was a 1-carat Usher solitaire, which was the most I could afford. Her concern was that it was too little, and the other rings she showed me were, the examples of what she wanted were far too expensive for me to purchase. I admit that caused some problems because everything surpassed the price I told her I could pay. She suggested that I get a temporary side job to help me save money. I've told her it'll take me a few years to save for what she wants, but she maintains that if I love her, I'll figure it out. I'm not opposed to another ring. However, we differ about the budget. The proposal, my reproducing the lunch she cooked for me shortly after we started dating, and setting candles she adores on the balcony were all not what she wanted. She wants a public proposal, and I misinterpreted her desire for something special. She made no mention of the public, and I made no assumptions. We now understand what she wants. I just wanted to thank everyone for their encouragement and good thoughts. I haven't decided if I'll keep the original ring. I have not worn it as my engagement ring yet, or return it because it will only make a little difference in the funds my partner requires for her ring. I'm not sure how, or if I'll save for another ring. Truthfully, the entire situation has put a damper on the thought of becoming engaged for the time being. Thank you again to everyone. Update 2 August 21st, 2024. Backstory: at the age of 30, I wanted to propose to my fiancée and bought her the most costly ring I could afford. It was a 1K Osher cut solitaire. I reproduced our second date's lunch and proposed on our balcony, surrounded by candles. My girlfriend said she'd only marry me if I purchased her a new ring. All of the samples she showed me were far larger and more expensive than I could afford. She had told me that if I gave her a new ring, she would accept my proposal, but it would be a do-over because she was also displeased with how I proposed at home. She didn't like the proposal or the ring. The update is that I attempted to contact her and find a solution because I adore her. She was the person I aspired to spend my life with. We had a few conflicts, and she suggested having a second job to purchase a better ring. She said I misunderstood when she said I wanted a spectacular proposal since what I accomplished was not original. I decided to keep the ring because I could not return it and would lose money if I sold it. I was seeking for a solution, and my girlfriend was suggesting options. I thought we'd work things out, but around 6 months. Following my last article, my girlfriend left me for a coworker. She said the romance began after I proposed. Last I heard, they were still together and either traveling in the United States. When my girlfriend left, she took most of our possessions. Basically, I had to start over. It was tough. My family stopped speaking to me once I started dating women. They do not support same-sex partnerships. I received a lot of positive comments on both of my posts, but also a lot of bad criticism. The majority of messages I got were likewise negative. Despite the fact that I have declared in my writings that I am a woman, many people ignore this information. I received several comments and remarks regarding how males underestimate how important the ring and proposal are to women. Even those who did not mistake me for a guy said my proposal was useless, and the ring was terrible. My proposal was condemned as being terrible, and the bulk of the responses I received mirrored comments about putting in more effort or being a better partner. There were some insults, but many of them showed sympathy for my partner. I learned from this experience. I am not currently in a relationship, but if I do find someone, I will strive to be a better companion.